All right, on to our next speaker. We're so thrilled to have Nicole Lee join us today. Nicole is the owner of Be Smart Solutions, an energy consulting firm dedicated to bridging the gap between local communities and essential sustainable resources. With a deep commitment to energy equity, Nicole helps communities navigate complex policy landscapes to ensure that modern infrastructure and green technologies are accessible to all. Thanks so much for being here today, Nicole. I'll pass it off to you.
Hi, hi everyone. Don't mind me multitasking, moving spaces. um, but thank you all for having me. I'm gonna try and share my screen really quick so I can present my presentation. All right. And so I'm here to talk about how are we going to fill in the gap and bridge the gap. And this comes in when we talk about community programs that are created to help LMI communities get the resources that they needed when it comes to building out all things energy efficiency. Um, and so we all know what energy burden is and how it impacts the LMI community. We see how every dollar is counted. And within those communities, there are so many programs that are created to help them try to save that extra dollar that they're trying to recuperate just to help pay the bills. And our goal is to try and figure out ways that we can help them when it comes to being overwhelmed, when it comes to so many pilot programs. Within a community, we have programs that are state-led, community-led, company-led, CBO-led, and our goal is to try and figure out how do you get all of those programs into one space, provide the resources to those LMI communities in one place. A lot of those who are in those burdens are elders and they're not tech savvy. And a problem with them is they become very overwhelmed when it's too many resources in one space instead of being in one place to focus on one thing. If I put in one application, I'm looking for it to replicate across the board for other applications as well too. And so this is how we're trying to fill in this gray area challenge by identifying who falls through those cracks of traditional aid and market rate aid. Give me one moment. I'm gonna move to another room. Sorry about that. I'm trying to handle a conference at the same time. Okay, and so the ALICE populations, these are people who are asset limited, income constrained, and employed. But I think with the ALICE population, they're also forgetting about the community. They're limited on resources too. And when it comes to programs such as weatherization programs to help them make those needed upgrades to their homes, they're struggling. We see it every day when we're going out to do the work in the homes and trying to connect them with resources that go across the line is hard because once we do one application with them, it's like, well, why do I have to do a second application? Why can't this one application sub for everything else that we're working on? And I think that's where the opportunity comes in when it comes to creating an ecosystem that will work for everyone. Through that ecosystem, we're connecting utility, state, city, and company leadership layers to create one silo of a program that offers help to everybody across the line. We know that through utility-led program, they're leveraging AMI through their smart meter, and they're prioritizing the leakiest of the homes for immediate intervention. Sometimes we always have those homes that fall in the middle where they might not be leaky, but they can have an old HVAC system. And how are we going to still be able to provide them with the same help? Because their home isn't leaky, but their home isn't as efficient as the next person because they have this very old, inefficient HVAC system that they have had since the home has been built, but they've never upgraded it. And so because they don't have homeowners insurance or warranty insurance, they're trying to figure out how can we get the system upgraded and replaced. Through city-led programs, not every city has a program. Luckily in Savannah, they have a program, a great program where they're able to provide certain updates to your home when it comes to roofing, HVAC, electrical, things of that nature. But for a city that is short on funds, how can they create those same type of programs that help fall in place where, let's just say the utility-led program doesn't provide HVAC replacement? Well, that's where the city-led program is able to step in to provide that additional assistance. And then you also have those company-led as well as community-led programs that are acting as a trusted navigator, which is bringing those people to the table to help them see the resources that are available and stacking the available resources to the residents. Some of the things that we've seen with the programs are reinventing the wheel. I think it's great, but sometimes it could be a bad thing. When you're reinventing the wheel, you're leaving resource dollars on the table. And I've seen it with many programs where they're offering the same type of services that another program is offering, but instead of bringing those programs together as one, whereas I'm only coming in to offer an extra layer for what the other company or other program isn't offering, we're leaving loose funds, which means that program that has good intentions will run out of funding earlier. And because it runs out of funding earlier, that means they have less people to help. Utility data rarely talks about the workforce boards as well as leading missed opportunities and localized hiring. And so that's the silos that people are looking at. And then, of course, the fragmentations is, again, when residents are overwhelmed with multiple pilot programs and they feel like it ignores what they truly need within their home. So with city-led, it's a hyper-local trust. Cities use community centers as intake points, but a lot of time that information does not get out. When you have a lot of elders and we rely a lot on technology, they miss that information. And those are the crucial homes because when you look at, let's say, Greenlink's data for the energy burden neighborhoods, a lot of those historic neighborhoods are where elders live. And because elders are centered there, not everybody is tech savvy. So they're missing out on those additional resources that might be offered at the community center. And so now it's more so of a job where the community, as well as those company-led or CBO organizations, come into play to help bridge that gap to the ALICE population. And not just with providing the energy efficiency programs, but also creating that workforce. The workforce can go from roofing to electrical to plumbing, but it's an opportunity to create careers. And so through the foundation of state and city fund training, as well as company placements, there's an opportunity where, again, this can be a siloed process where if I am going to go through this workforce program, I already have the companies that are able to hire these people as employees, so that they'll have great working jobs. And then it's economically mobile to where they're located. A lot of times, like I was just in Virginia, and you see where we offered this amazing program, but a lot of the work, they have to uproot themselves to leave to work in that specific area. And so uprooting doesn't work for everyone, especially when you have a family and you're trying to give back to the community that you've been living in all of your life and help them with the resources that you have just learned about. And so the impact of resource layering, when we work with the baseline of burdens, utility rebates, as well as build upon and stacking rebates and grants that are available, you create a larger baseline when it comes to energy resilience within these communities. And so here's some of the metrics that we have found. The bad is the silo. That's strict federal poverty caps only when it comes to eligibility. when it comes to workforce is classrooms without placements, and resources are reinventing the wheels per programs. When we're trying to integrate them, using the city bridges for the gray areas, the handshake apprenticeships to careers, as well as layering the ecosystem with 0% burden. And now I'm gonna open it up for questions. Let me see.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole, for sharing. And it's good to see you again. Uh, I think some folks are simmering a little bit with this, but maybe something I'm curious to know. I know because we worked on Weatherize Atlanta together too. What are some of the things that you think came out of that project that were good and bad that helped with with filling some of the gaps that we were seeing?
With that campaign, of course, we were able to, again, to connect with a lot of elders. We saw a lot of elders in that program. Um, at first, it started out with just, it was right before the launch of the state-led rebate program. And so those fundings weren't yet available, but it was trying to figure out like, hey, we have the utility-led program. Can we fill them in over here? Or they were trying to go out in the first place and do it on their own. And that's where we saw the drop, where it was an opportunity for us to be able to go in and partner with these other programs. So that it kind of expands the budget. With the budget expanded, you're able to help more people, or you're able to help them in a way where it keeps them from falling through those gaps that we're talking about, where let's just say they need an enabling repair. They have a roof leak. Well, this is where those extra funds that this other program has, instead of reinventing the wheel, we can use those funds to repair the roof. Or they might have a window broken. We can replace a window, things of that nature that's outside of the funding for the other programs. And this is where this fund steps in at, to make sure that this home does not fall through those cracks.
Yeah, appreciate that. I know that work of melding with creating more local jobs and making sure that all of these resources in the communities are actually getting back in the community is so
Right.
critical. So I appreciate you talking to that. One more question that came up is any advice you have for city or local governments, professionals working in this space, if they want to overcome the accessibility challenges?
Partnerships are what works best. Partner with programs that are already existing and building upon what's already there. Utilizing, figuring out where they lack resources, and then you provide that extra resource through your partnership. That way you're able to reach more people. And so instead of me just reaching 50, I can reach 100 now.
Yeah, I love that. And this is all kind of building off of each other because one more question that came up when you were talking is the redundant programs that are competing for funding, and maybe adding a little bit more to why there's so many duplicate programs and what can the states or local governments or even utilities do to help solve that. Was there anything else you'd want to add on to that?
I think again, that's where partnerships come in at. Like if, let's just say, for instance, what GFA did, where GFA went in for the general funding for their rebate program. And then of course they had other companies and contractors come in to help diverse the funding and make sure the funding got to the communities that it needed to. And so let's just say you have another GFA come out and there's this large grant or funding available. They get the grant and then they're able to disperse it on a local level to other organizations that they're working with.
Yeah, appreciate that, Nicole. Partnerships and just keeping engaged with your communities is so critical for understanding what those needs and how to support and get the funding out there. Especially like you said, we can see the leakiest of the homes, but there's a lot that are kind of in those in between that needs the support that community can step up and fill with their partnerships with their utilities and local governments. So thank you so much for sharing today, Nicole. If anyone has any more questions, please put them in the chat and we'll make sure that we connect with Nicole so that we can get those answered for you. I'll pass it back to you, Chris.
Great. Thanks, Sammy. I appreciate it. And thank you so much, Nicole, for providing so much great information for this group. I wholeheartedly agree in the power of partnerships and collaboration. And it's great to be able to share how much amazing work is happening out there. And if we can all connect, collaborate, again, that theme of this BRESE initiative, I think there's power there. So appreciate that message and all you shared today.